All right, we're live.
Are
Where
we
are you, buddy?
back?
I think so. I think so. Let's see.
imagine,
Yep, we're
imagine if
back.
there were technical difficulties tonight for AEW, like they've had with the sound issues
You know
like
what? You
every
know what the
week.
problem is? John, our producer, hired the guys from AEW today to help with the show because he's been so busy. This is what happens.
Oh,
Hold
sorry
on,
about
let's
that,
blame
folks.
we're gonna blame the mothership. It was F4W's fault.
Oh, there we go.
We're blaming the mothership.
You're gonna get an angry email from Tony Leader.
Tony the
I'm gonna
leader.
guess.
Yeah.
All right. I don't even remember where we left off, so let's. I kind of wanted to look at. There is some CM Punk news that we're going to get to at the tail end of the show, so we'll save that. But Andrew, let's look at before we even look at the lineups. What did you think about Tony Khan's strategy of just going on a tweet stream last night? Did you see all of these tweets?
So I didn't see last night's. I saw this morning's.
Last night he was, they were adding stuff, and he saw WWE's 30 minutes commercial free, so he's like, all right, I see your 30 minutes commercial free, and I'm going to raise you an Eddie Kingston versus Minoru Suzuki buy-in match on all of the social media. And then, he responded to some tweets of people saying, I'm not watching AEW, I'm watching NXT, and he kind of went aggressive at them. He tweeted a GIF. He tweeted a GIF of Roderick Strong saying the F word. And then somebody had mentioned Vince, and he was like, yeah, Sir Vince McMahon and his transgressions. I forget the exact wording, but it was like a slight diss at Vince for all of the stuff that, Vince has been in trouble about. And then today, so I think it was Nick Hausman wrote a story about how kind of what you said, which is WWE really, really wants to win the night badly, and they think that they have the better show, all that stuff. And then Tony Khan responded with a tweet that was, I guess, from a photo from Curb Your Enthusiasm that's had bald assholes in it. And as reference to Triple H and Shawn Michaels, like, what is going on? What are we doing?
What are we doing? What is going on? I I have no words. Listen, either Tony is a very funny guy. I mean, just hysterical sense of humor, and he doesn't take things seriously, or he is reveling in anger because of what's going on. They do have an overrun too, and I know that they wanted to keep that kind of a secret for a little bit, so there was no counter to it. NXT does get an overrun, but I this is going to be a very interesting night, and I'm curious if there's any big surprises that we don't know about.
Yeah. But would you waste them here? Because if your goal is to win the rating, everything should be announced already, right? Because you're trying to get people to tune in, unless you do it early, unless you do some tease of something early that you expect to pay off at the end of the show to kind of build to the end. I could see that. But I'm not sure if surprises are the best thing for tonight. Maybe you should, if you have some surprises ready, maybe save them for, upcoming weeks when you're going to need them, rather than, it just feels like a little bit wasted if you have surprises tonight for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I really think it has to do with I guess, the market dictates sometimes, right? In other things. But the market is dictating now. So if you just called it a day and didn't become super competitive, then your audience is going to say, look, they gave up. It's going to be a total slaughter. If you don't do this, if you are aggressive, if you are trying to do something, a little bit more than usual, then they're going to turn around and say, look, you're trying too hard. It's I think in NXT's case, it's a direct attempt of trying to hurt AEW. In AEW's case, that their back is against the wall and they're the underdogs here, and they're going to have to attempt to maintain some sort of viewership, and they don't want this to be a 400,000 view Dynamite. That would not be great.
Yes,
they want this to be at least somewhat competitive.
Absolutely. So let's look at these cards, because again, on paper, if I looked at what I like in a wrestling show, I think I'd lean a little bit more towards the AEW show. But like you said, the WWE's busting out all of the stars. So let's look at both of these shows. AEW Dynamite. Here is the current lineup for AEW Dynamite, and that can still change because they're still adding stuff. Adam Copeland, his first match in AEW against Luchasaurus. Is
Against
that
the Dinosaur Man.
is there intrigue from you here? There's storyline interest because Luchasaurus and Christian are together. But I don't know. This one doesn't do it for me. And I will admit, I'm like maybe the least biggest Luchasaurus fan out there. But like, is this something where you're like, huh, I need to watch this? Edge's first match. It's against Luchasaurus.
I think it makes sense, right? There's a reason why they're doing this. There's a reason why it's Luchasaurus. Oh, I can't even say it. Luchasaurus. I think it's the story to tell with Christian. I don't think this is going to be a 20-minute match. I think there's going to be shenanigans here, and it's going to build to something else. But I get why they did this match.
I sense shenanigans kind of all night on this AEW show, but I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, you think it's going to be a swerve bro episode of Dynamite?
Well, I just look at some of these matchups, and I mean, do you want to see Swerve Strickland lose after he just beat Hangman on television?
I do not know.
Are you going to beat Bryan Danielson clean? Prince Nana's out there. He's got the crown. He's doing the Nana dance. I don't know. I would be happy to see a clean finish, but that one seems to be a little hard. And then you have Hangman against Jay White. The Bullet Club's involved. There's going to be shenanigans, of course, with the Bullet Club. So maybe the Elite come out as well to help. But yeah, I just sense that, in order for some of these matches to work, you kind of have to have screwy stuff happen, lots of interference and such. Yeah. But maybe I'm wrong. Also, Christian Cage will explain his recent actions towards Adam Copeland. How'd you like Collision ending? Christian comes out, he's ready to talk.
I got to tell you, I have never in my life. I've heard a lot of go F yourselves. Yeah. That was by far top 3 go F yourselves I have ever heard. I appreciate a good go F yourself. I don't know about you, but when you hear someone do a good go F yourself, that was fantastic. And you know what? The Canadianness also added to it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't a normal, like a New York, like, hey, go F yourself. It wasn't like that. There was a little bit of flavor to it. I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, but on Collision, you talked about watching that show, but they made it very clear that Collision is not the show where things are going to happen. It is Dynamite, because Christian comes out and he's like, I'm not going to talk now. I'll save it for Dynamite. And you're like, okay, well, I guess that's a nice little cliffhanger, but if you were watching Collision heads up against Fastlane and then they ended it like that, you're like, oh, come on, man. Did I waste these 2 hours? Okay, like I said, Danielson and Swerve Strickland, which should be great. It should be absolutely 100% fantastic. Saraya against Shida. I'm not sure how good that match will be, but I'm sure there will be some storyline implications. And here's the one. I'm not sure this match is going to happen. Rey Fenix and Jon Moxley. Moxley got pulled, or not pulled. I guess he wasn't okay to wrestle on Saturday for the indie date. And are we to believe that he is going to be better and cleared for this Wednesday or for this Tuesday match?
I think so. Yeah, I think he is cleared. I think that was more precautionary. They didn't want him wrestling somewhere else before he has his return, and they wanted to give him a couple more days. So I think that makes total sense. I don't think it was a case of like, it's just they're kind of waiting for the last minute to kind of pull this. I think he is wrestling tonight.
I would not be surprised if Orange Cassidy's in this match somehow and Moxley doesn't do a lot. I'm just like trying to read between the lines here, and I'm kind of wondering if this match is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Chris Jericho versus Powerhouse Hobbs. This could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is a good display for Hobbs. Working with Chris Jericho. I don't know what way they go here. They could do a DQ. They could do Jericho lose.
another match that might have some stuff going on in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one definitely will have something.
MJF will appear. That's all that it says. He's going to
But see,
appear.
why isn't he wrestling? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't think he should wrestle on this show?
Okay, I have a take, and basketball fans will understand this take more so than most. But
Please tell me it's a 90s reference. Please.
no, it's not.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, the NBA last several years have had this issue with a lot of the star players. Because you want the star players to play throughout the season, you want them to be fresh for the playoffs. There's this thing called load management. And so every 10 games, star players like, I'm not hurt, I'm fine, but we're just being strategic with my rest. And I started to think about this with MJF because I think it was Big Dave said on one of the past Observer radios that, the Gaga matches that MJF has, like the one at Wrestle Dream with the Righteous. And he says, look, the guy's saving his body a little bit. He thinks that it's going to be better for longevity to wrestle these, sort of goofy matches instead of sort of like the Bryan Danielson match that we saw at Chase Center earlier in the year in March. And I get it. I mean, I want the guy to be the 2023 version of Ric Flair, like, because I see that that's who he can be. He's that talented. But if he'd rather be, a mix of, Hogan and, some of these other spots, Ultimate Warrior stuff that he does, and it's a little bit more of a Gaga style to kind of save his body so he's not in this brutal, all these brutal matches. I understand that too, but it is very much the version of AEW's load management, if that is the case. And it also tells me that maybe he shouldn't be the guy holding the belt, if that is the case, right? Because I like having world title matches at the end of my pay-per-views. It feels special to me when there's a world title match at the end to culminate this great show, and here's your best guy, your best wrestler. Doesn't have to be a guy. If the women's belt is over, that should be the top match. But if your best wrestler is not in the final match or in one of the main matches and is an opening match with a goofball tag team that is not over in any way, it just feels a little cheap. It makes the belt feel cheap to me. And if it is better for him to wrestle in this other way, then maybe Jay White should beat him for the title at the at Full Gear in SoCal, and maybe he should be the champion. So that is just I just started to feel that way recently, but I also after a while I was there in that Chase Center match with MJF and Bryan Danielson, and that was tremendous. And you look at that and you go, wow, this guy at his young age could be one of the greats. But if he does need to save his body because he sees all of these other guys who are so beat up, then so be it. But maybe he shouldn't be the number one ace of the company at the same time.
I think he's enough of an attraction where I think he gets away with it, right? Not defending the title because he's always been very limited. Like you don't really get to see him wrestle too often, and I like that somewhat.
Yeah,
but
that's good.
When you're the world champion, I want to. I don't care to see him if he's wrestling, and even if it's a Gaga match, right? Even if it is some weird handicap match that they're doing, I want him to defend the title. I don't. I have no interest in that Ring of Honor tag team title.
I don't either. Not at all.
Zero. I have zero interest in it. I don't really care to. Okay, so he's the Ring of Honor tag team champion, a second-rate tag title in your organization amongst 5,000 titles. Why do I care about this?
Yes.
Even if he loses, why do I care about it? But you know how I feel about that Adam Cole storyline.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with it. I get there are aspects that are really funny and it works. I'm willing to I'm being patient, right? I don't want to say like, oh, this sucks or anything like that, but it's just not doing it for me.
So I will tell you that this is back in the day NXT, when NXT and AEW were going head to head. Adam Cole and Roderick Strong and those guys were doing a lot of this gaga stuff that looks like it was shot on an iPhone. Um, their production style and the way that they're shooting these skits leans way more to like 2019 NXT
Yeah.
or 2018 NXT than what we're used to with AEW. So there's some influence there from those guys, obviously, because the product is a little different, or that stuff is a little different. I'm just waiting for Dexter Loomis to show up and for Roderick Strong to jump out of that wheelchair and just start running. That's
Yeah.
the way things are going now. All right, the last thing that is on actual Dynamite is a timeless Toni Storm. What do you think about
The
timeless
best.
Toni Storm?
The best. The best. One of the best characters that they have developed there. I don't care. Are you into it? It
I
doesn't
love
even
it.
matter. It's fantastic. It is
I
so
love it, but I'm worried.
Okay. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm not worried, okay?
Okay.
Years ago, Tony was still in NXT. And Dave was, I remember it was a Saturday edition of Observer. No, I'm sorry, it was a Sunday Observer. Brian and Dave did it.
Mm-hmm.
And or you know what? It could have been you. And Dave was speaking about it could have been you, actually. It could have been a Saturday, it could have been you. Dave was talking about Tony's character.
Yeah.
And he said, the lifespan of that character is limited.
Yes.
Because you
I
can't
know the conversation.
Okay, so that was years ago. How much longer can you do this? The backwards hat, the cute girl next door gimmick or whatever,
Right.
whatever you want to call it. She was tough. She was like a tomboy. It worked. It was. I loved it. It was great. It's great when you're in your 20s. She's 27 now, right? She's been doing that gimmick since she was like, she's been wrestling for 15 years.
Yeah.
So she did that for a very long time, and it was always a question on how are you going to translate her later on because this is over. People are into it, but you only have X amount of time with this character on your TV because her at 34, it's probably not going to work as well. They did the same thing with Bayley. They recognized it with Bayley, and they shifted eventually. This was a total turn that I didn't see happening, and she has embraced it. I don't think I've never seen her this comfortable on national TV. Like, I know she's unbelievable. I've seen her wrestle a ton, and I'm a big fan of hers. I've never seen her this comfortable with a character.
She is fantastic with it. She is all in. She's owning it. It has become her character, and I really enjoy it. My worry is last week on Dynamite, she came in with the lipstick all over her face, and I was like, wait, are we supposed to now think that she went on a bender? Like, is because that's a dark version of what I thought that they were doing. Like the character historically, the old actress from back in the day who's now a little older and is not getting the same roles and is kind of going down a dark path. Like that character, I think is very unique and it is very fresh for wrestling. But I don't know if I want it to go down the darker path. I want it to go down the path of her still out of her mind,
I think that's what it was. That's how I took it. I didn't take it that she went on a bender.
So. I hope so.
I took it as that she's just a crazy person. She's a delusional actress.
Delusional.
Yeah.
I
mean, when they start mentioning barbiturates on the air, that's when I'll get concerned. When she's like, please, darling, hand me my barbiturates. When that starts happening, I'll get a little worried.
No, I'm with you. And if I saw that as like, oh my gosh, I hope they don't go here, or maybe I was thinking they were and they actually weren't. If they stay delusional, I love it. I'm so happy. In the Observer Awards, there's best move. Dave has best move for and it's like whatever Will Ospreay's finisher is gonna finish really high. I want the ass bite into the hip attack in the corner as so move of the year.
What is Dave's favorite move? Do you know?
I don't know. Atomic.
You have to know this.
Abdominal.
An atomic drop. Abdominal stretch is Dave's favorite wrestling move.
I don't know. He loves the high spots. No, he loves the high spots.
Does he really?
He really loves the high spots. Like he'll watch a match And the great technical wrestling, like we saw with Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr., like that is his favorite style of wrestling. So he's excited.
Yeah, me too.
But to be next to him when he's very vocal, it's usually for a dive of some sort, like a crazy dive or some risky move where they just hit it perfectly. That's really what gets him out of his seat, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at this NXT show now. Oh, and I mentioned already the Kingston and Suzuki on the buy-in. How about put that on the actual Dynamite? Why are we wasting that on social media, man? I don't know.
He's trying to do that 100K the 100K YouTube number again.
we know what that does, right? We know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it's to kind of get the live crowd ready as well, because that goes on a half an hour before Dynamite starts. But man, can we fit it in? Like that should be on the show. Okay, NXT. Here's what we have for NXT, and I will read the write-up from this very website. NXT has a stacked lineup tonight with appearances by John Cena, Paul Heyman, Cody Rhodes, and now we know that Cody Rhodes is going to open the show. I don't. I think he knows what he's going to talk about. He doesn't have to ask the NXT audience what they want to talk about, because I think he has a good idea what he's going to talk about tonight. And Asuka as well. WWE is also teasing that The Undertaker will be appearing on NXT. Has The Undertaker ever been on NXT?
The Undertaker's never been on NXT, and I'm very upset that The Undertaker's going to be on NXT. I didn't want to see that.
I'm trying. What's the benefit? I mean, I guess just the idea that his music played at the end of the promo or the video package, but I don't know. Just the fact that they said The Undertaker is coming, I'm not that excited about that. Now, if there was a tie-in to a character on NXT where The Undertaker needed to show up, or someone was being, the Judgment Day was going too wild and Undertaker had to stop it, then I'm interested. But just The Undertaker in of itself showing up and doing a long walk to the ring, not that interesting to me. All right. Now the matches. Carmelo Hayes with John Cena in his corner against Braun Breaker with Paul Heyman in his corner. That should be pretty darn cool. And did you see Carmelo Hayes' tweet when John Cena said that he was coming to NXT, and Carmelo Hayes was like, hey, man, let me know when you get here, because, that NXT parking lot can be pretty crazy. I want to make sure you get to the building. I thought that was really funny. I like
John
it when
driving in.
Yeah, because the parking lot is where all the beatdowns happen, and so I like it when when they're cute about it like that. Also, in addition to Cody Rhodes making a major announcement, Asuka against Roxanne Perez, which should be a really fun match, and they're going for, when you go up against Saraya and Shida, to me is a little bit more about performance and visual and angle rather than like high quality, no doubt about it, wrestling match.
What if Undertaker's announcing Halloween Havoc?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
He's the host.
Oh, he'll be host of Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, what if they do that?
You know what it reminds me of, though? I remember Mick Foley one time. He said, when kayfabe will be totally dead is when The Undertaker joined Twitter. And I sort of see The Undertaker hosting NXT Halloween Havoc as like a step down for that character. I want that character to, not that I'm the biggest Undertaker fan necessarily. I've never have been in all the years, and I saw him from the very beginning. But still, like there's a thing about that character that you don't overexpose. And if they did that, it might be a little bit of overexposure. But you may be right, because that's where the tie-in would be. That's where the great fit would be. And then a pub rules match: Butch, Ridge Holland, Tyler Bate against Gallus of Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang. And then lastly, my girl Lola Vice. I was a big fan of hers when she was coming up in Bellator, because I thought she had a lot of promise. She had a great look. And now she is in NXT. So she faces Danny Palmer in the women's breakout tournament first round match. All right, so we laid out the cards. What is the more interesting show to you?
I think the AEW one for sure. There's going to be a lot of is this going to feel like it's one of those like Raw anniversary shows where like everybody just shows up and they don't really do anything? Or is
Yeah,
it going
like
to be
in the
something
segments
big
are
and
like they're putting in
yeah,
like 10 people in one segment just to get them in or
yeah.
whatever.
So I think the AEW show will probably be a better pro wrestling show. But as far as entertainment goes, listen, if you like John Cena and you like Cody and you like The Undertaker and you want to see them, of course you're going to watch them.
Yeah,
So it
for
really
sure.
depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for to be entertained, then I think NXT would work for you if that's, these are the characters you want. But if you want to watch good wrestling, I think AEW is going to be the one. What do you think the final number is going to be?
What do you remember what it was last year?
I don't. I don't remember what it was last year.
Because I can't imagine either show is going to do like 900,000 viewers. Like there's just not that many people who watch Raw, right? Like Raw is capped at about 1.5 these days with Monday Night Football. You got some baseball playoffs going on tonight. I don't know. Is it 8-6 or 750 and 6? Like that those are the kind of numbers that I'm thinking, but maybe both companies have done such a great job getting the word out. Maybe there are going to be more people watching than usual tonight. What do you think?
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly I have very little expectation of the number. I don't know what to expect. WWE's loaded up on this. Can WWE do 900,000, a million viewers? Is it possible? Yeah, it could be possible, but I don't know if that's the reality here. I would say like if it's like healthy in AEW, let's say we assume that NXT wins, it'll be like 568 and 749. You know,
Yeah.
I see that being the down. AEW's the visiting team here. They're on a totally different night, so you're gonna have an instant drop no matter what.
Yeah.
Whether it's they hemorrhage or it actually they're able to maintain and their following is smart enough to find them. I think the AEW audience is smart enough to find them. They don't have as much just channel flippers as AEW does.
Yeah, for sure. So in my hope, my hope of all hopes is that WWE wins the audience number and AEW wins the demo. I don't think that's going to happen. I think WWE will probably win both because I think not only will it be a little bit more true to fashion with both companies, but I think it will create this weird thing on Wednesday where one company is saying that they won and the other company is saying that they won. But what I don't want to happen is I don't want to see one company win in a rout because I don't think that's going to be good for the Twitter and the ecosystem and the universe of all wrestling stuff come Wednesday. So I'm hopeful that it's competitive. I do sort of expect, like you, that NXT is going to win, but I want to see AEW show out because it's better for we're rooting for the outcome that is the best for the business, and I do think that the fans will be the benefactors of this nuttiness that is happening right now because they should get two good shows, right? Like if you're an NXT fan and you're not paying attention to AEW, you're going to get a better than normal NXT show, and on the other side, if you're an AEW fan, you're not even going to pay attention to NXT. You're getting a loaded card too, rather than a normal Dynamite. So, I think the fans win out no matter what.
Yeah, I think the fans I think the fans are going to win out tremendously. There's going to be great wrestling. You're going to see your favorites. There's going to be John Cena on. There's going to be The Undertaker on. I'm sure Hunter will show up. I'm sure Sean will show up, and they'll do something.
Those bald assholes you're talking about?
The bald assholes are going to show up. I can't believe he posted that. Happy birthday, Tony.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Birthday. You know what I want to see tonight? Like, after the show's over, some fans got their iPhone out. maybe Danielson comes out and gets the crowd to sing happy birthday to Tony Khan. And you remember we played the video a couple weeks ago of Tony Khan doing the Daniel Garcia dance? Then I want Nana to come out and the crowd gets Tony Khan to do the Prince Nana dance. That would be the best for the social media come tonight. Would be Tony Khan doing the Nana dance on his birthday.
I think that should be his new gimmick. He just comes out and dances.
Does everybody's dance.
Everybody's dance. He does the Vince, remember when Vince was dancing with the strippers and he was doing that? He needs to start doing that too. We need a recreation of that, of him and Mox. Mox could play the Foley part and he'll just be Vince doing this. Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh, I'll die. All right, should we talk about the CM Punk stuff to end the show?
Yeah,
here?
Let's talk about it.
All right, so I know Sean has been on this one. He tweeted earlier today, and I think it was. I'm sure it was an update on their website. But he was talking about Punk and WWE. Maybe not even really being in negotiations right now. His tweet said, WWE higher-ups told Fightful Select and Top Talent that the company is not currently in talks with CM Punk about a WWE return, and then he linked to his story. So what do you think about this CM Punk to WWE? I feel like we're going to be talking about this for a long time. Like, this is not not necessarily the end-all be-all here. But what do you think about what Sean reported today?
Listen, I heard the same rumors. I heard the same rumors from people in AEW and people in WWE. So I don't know if that's a matter of fact or what people have been reading. Is it a reality that he can show up? Yeah, I think it's a big possibility that he can show up. I don't know, and I'm willing to bet that WWE is going to keep this very tight-lipped because there's a number of other hurdles they need to jump through, and they don't want this to become a topic before they even sign him, where people are kind of having their boo-boo faces on. There's a lot of personnel issues that they have to work with. If they could make it work, I think it's a tremendous get for WWE as far as the aesthetic of seeing how this is playing out. Will he melt down and collapse? I don't know.
So he was very careful with his language, for sure. Like, he was very specific. He said this came from WWE higher ups. So he's telling us where he's getting the information, right? So I think if WWE is trying to, maybe create a situation where, we're looking to do something here, but we just kind of don't want this news out there. I mean, I could see why they tell him that. But at the same time, I just sort of feel like this whole thing is just negotiation. Not that Sean is wrong. I'm sure Sean is 100% truthful in what he's reporting. But I just feel like the whole thing is kind of like negotiation, and let's sort of put a table to this thing, and then once we're out of this doldrums of September and October, then let's heat it up again. I can't believe that there is not at least a chance that Punk ends up on WWE TV from both WWE's side. I think it makes sense, and as well as Punk's side. It's pretty obvious that he wants to go there. So I think Sean is 100% on the money with what he's been told, but I also think there's a little bit of kind of negotiation going, leverage stuff going, and I don't think this is going to be the end of the story in any way.
No, this is not the end of the story. And the reality is, if he doesn't go there, then what is he going to do? I got to tell you one thing, though. Okay, I'm gonna tell you one thing. I genuinely believe that CM Punk went there to AEW with the full intent on helping young talent, building that TV show, and sticking it to WWE. That was his full intent. Okay? 100%. Everything I heard about him when he was there, he was very hands-on. He wasn't a guy that was just showing up and leaving. He was a guy that was involved and working. I think that's what kind of started the negativity here. I think there were a lot of people that didn't want to take his advice or look at him as like, what are you doing here? This is a different time. We don't do, I don't want to do it that way. And that's when when it started rolling, that ball started rolling in a negative way. He's not going to do that in WWE, right? In WWE, he's just going to be a guy that shows up, does his program, and leaves. Maybe that's better off. I think he'll have a better time there if that's the case. If he's showing up, doing things that he agrees, that's going to work out, and then he leaves. Maybe the problem in AEW was that they attempted to do too much. He wanted to do too much, and then he thought that he's the savior to the business. And
well, the first rating and that sellout, like
first rating,
you could imagine that going to his head, right? Absolutely.
And there was really nothing wrong with his run. Like, if you're talking about, like, it was not mishandled whatsoever, and it went this poorly, right? Like, if you talk about, like, how he was positioned in the company and his matches that he was having and who he was feuding with, was there anything that they did and you're like, no, this is terrible for Punk, he should not be in this program? No, right?
No, I mean, there's things that he said that probably weren't the best for what they were doing.
No, I'm saying like as far as like the way that they built him on TV as a company.
Yeah, it was perfect.
It was perfect. It was perfect, and it still went this poorly. It's fascinating. I mean, all this is fascinating to me. Listen, I don't believe WWE when they say they're not interested in him. I don't believe them when they say they haven't spoken. I have a hard time believing that. Because if you're any company and you have this free agent available, even if you dislike him, you're going to I don't have to like him, but you know what? Someone else in my company could talk to him. I don't have to talk to him if I'm Hunter. But if we could find out where we are at this point and if we can make it work, I would 100% try to acquire him.
Yep.
Even if he's a jerk and he's an a-hole, you can maybe figure it out. But at least you have that conversation. Not having that conversation, I think it's irresponsible of them.
So Nick Hausman, who we know is close to the Punk camp, he also wrote today that House of Wrestling spoke with a source in CM Punk's camp that heavily gave us the impression the two sides were no longer in talks about a return. So the way that he wrote it made it sound like they were talking, and now for whatever reason they're not talking, which to me again screams negotiation. If you're WWE and you want to get him on your roster, but you don't want to all the things that we just talked about, maybe Punk has like some stuff. Okay, if I come in, here's what I want. And you're like, no, if you come in, you're not getting X, Y, and Z. And then they both kind of go, okay, we're not talking right now. That it could be completely that with what's going on. And, like you said, we just want you to come in. You're going to work these shows. We don't need you to help us with any, that whole thing. And then he's like, no, but I want to do this, this, and this. I want my wife to come. Whatever it is, they have, they're going to talk until they strike a deal. And if, as we've seen with the writer strike and everything, is you come to the table and then you feel like your best leverage is to leave the table and make the other person wait it out. Like that's what negotiation is. So I'm of the opinion that this is not the last time that they talk, and I would probably bet that Sean feels the same way.
I'm sure. Yeah, listen, I've it's like I asked about The Rock. I was told that The Rock was going to wrestle last year at WrestleMania, right? I was told a lot of details to conversations that happened. The Rock confirmed it that, things didn't fall into place. Every time I spoke to people at WWE, they gave me the same exact answer, and then they started denying it. Like this, it's of course they're not going to go to Sean and be like, oh yeah, Sean, by the way, yeah, we are talking to him. Because then if it doesn't work, what are you going to do? If the deal falls apart before you sign it, then you look like a fool. You told all these people that you're making it work, and it didn't happen. So people's expectations shift. But I will say, the closer we get to Survivor Series, if he is not in that company, right? If he is not going there, they really need to stop with the GTSs
Yeah.
and the quoting of the lines.
Yeah.
They're really going to have to kind of pull back from this because uh, it's cute and it's baiting, and some people get it, but there's also going to be a large number of fans that don't really follow all the nonsense. They just get little bits and pieces. They're going to be left totally disappointed, and you don't want that, especially when you have a big show. And the show's in Chicago. So what are they going to do if Punk doesn't show up and they're just chanting CM Punk the entire freaking night and they're booing everything? Not that will happen, but it's a possibility.
Yeah. I mean, how long did it take WWE going to Chicago where fans just didn't expect him to show up anymore, right? That was like, seemed like every show he was there, or every show they had in Chicago when he left, they're like, oh, the fans think Punk's coming back tonight. And so that they would just create another one of those if they do. All right. So hopefully everyone has a great night watching wrestling tonight. You got both shows. They're both important. Tomorrow, maybe don't go on Twitter. Don't get your fingers excited to diss the other side, and we can have a happy place. No, that's not going to happen. It's gonna be horrible tomorrow on Twitter, no matter what.
Okay, can you do me one favor though for me this week? Okay.
Yeah.
And you could. I want to know what Dave's favorite wrestling move is.
His actual, he's not going to give me a straight answer.
He has to. You're going to have to work really hard at it. Garrett, you're going to have to really press him on this. I want to know what his one favorite wrestling. You know what mine is? Okay. I got a favorite move. Okay? My all-time favorite move is the delayed vertical suplex. Love that move. That is my favorite move. The Bulldog one. Love that one.
It's great.
And I love the nutbuster on the ropes. That Sean used to fall right flat and then used to shake the rope. Do you know when the last time we saw that? We've seen it twice in the last decade and a half. AJ Styles did it in like 2016, and Jericho did it on Dynamite a couple of years ago. The only two times it's happened.
Okay, here's what you do.
Yeah.
Send me an email.
Okay.
gg@fightgamemedia.com.
Let's do it live on the air.
Okay.
gg@fightgamemedia.com. Subject. Question for David. What is Dave's fave move of all time? I will also accept his top 3 of all time. Thank you. Long time, first time. Andrew Zarian.
I will read this on
XOXO kisses.
I will read this on Friday, and you will get your answer live on the air or in podcast form Saturday when you're taking a shower.
This is going to be even better than the time I wrote to Dave and he printed something in the Observer that I sent them.
How old would you
have fake name? It would have been WCW had shut down, so I would have been 16. It was March.
My letters.
It was like late March. Are they? Yeah, it was late March, and I used a fake name, and I don't even remember what it was.
Of all people, why would you need a fake name at 16 years old?
Well, no, I had like a yeah. No, it was like a troll name.
Got it.
Like a Jack Mayhofer. It was like one of those.
Right. Yeah.
I was trolling Dave in the Observer 20-something, 30 years ago.
Hilarious. All right, we are done here. For Andrew, yes. I am Double G. Have fun, y'all. See you when we see you. Peace out.
Thanks, everybody.